Presented by Caltech.
David Ho is the Director and Chief Executive Officer at the Aaron Diamond AIDS Research Center and the Irene Diamond Professor at the Rockefeller University. He was born in Taiwan and moved with his family to the US in 1965 and matriculated at Caltech 6 years later. In an interview with Bill Moyers, Dr. Ho recounted, "Then, interestingly, in the late 50s, so I would have been just 8 or 9 years old, two physicists from China, Yang and Li, won the Nobel Prize. That was such a big development that they were glorified, they were deified. All the kids were told, this is what you ought to follow. Science became a big part of what I was thinking about from then on." From a BS in biology at Caltech in 1974, this led to an MD from Harvard in 1978. Dr. Ho began his medical career with patient zero of the AIDS outbreak in LA. He was the chief medical resident at Cedars-Sinai Medical Center when the first patient came through the doors exhibiting symptoms of a then unknown illness. He discovered that the latency phase in HIV infection is actually not latent, that the virus and the immune system are fighting one another. He's published more than 400 papers on the mechanisms of HIV/AIDS and developed the medicines to save lives. Among his many recognitions, he was named Time Magazine's Man of the Year in 1996. He's a member of the California Hall of Fame, and he's awarded the Presidential Citizens Medal in 2001. To that, we add the Distinguished Alumni Award from Caltech. The citation is for his positive impact on human health. His studies have elucidated the dynamic nature of HIV replication in infected persons, forming the foundation for combination antiretroviral therapy. This therapy protocol has led to reductions in AIDS-associated mortality in developed countries. Dr. Ho.
Thank you very much, President Rosenbaum. I would like to thank Caltech very much for this great honor. I last spoke on this campus officially in 1997. I had the privilege to be the commencement speaker. Today's honor ranks up there with the previous one. As a young immigrant high school student growing up in Los Angeles, I was truly awed by this institution. I found it both intimidating and inspiring. I have the same feeling today. In fact, I first set foot in this auditorium in 1969 when I brought a date to an Ingmar Bergman movie. I'm not sure why a high school student would make that choice today, but I think at that time, I was more excited about being on the Caltech campus than my date. I think that qualifies me as a Caltech nerd. It is, of course, inspiring because this is the sacred ground where many of my scientific heroes have roamed. The likes of Richard Feynman, the likes of fellow awardee Kip Thorne, and former President David Baltimore. I was attracted to this campus by math and physics, which are subjects still dear to my heart. But it was taking that initial course in biology from Bill Wood and the hood that taught me how exciting life science was and still is. And from that point on, I was lured to an exciting new field, went to medical school as was described. And then in 1981, back in Los Angeles, having had a chance encounter with some of the initial cases of what we now call AIDS. Those cases piqued my interest, and my scientific curiosity led me to pursue a rare disease at the time without ever knowing that it would ultimately turn into a global pandemic that is arguably the worst plague in human history. After devoting about 34 years to research on the subject, I have reflected on the fact that, in fact, the Caltech education was critical in forming my scientific career. It was here where I learned to think critically. It was here I learned how to solve problems. We weren't given so many tests in the classroom. In fact, we were given challenges to take home and solve them. And that really was instrumental in teaching me problem solving and critical thinking. Also, the emphasis on being very, very quantitative, while stressful at the time, I think was extremely helpful as I thought about the challenges that I faced with HIV infection and trying to understand the dynamics of HIV replication. Without that Caltech education, I don't think I would have gotten to the point of revealing the dynamic nature of that virus. So in fact, the foundation in science was formed here, and to me it is much more important than all the facts that I had to memorize in medical school. So I thank Caltech for helping me to form a strong foundation in science, and for today's distinction. I hope in the coming years I could do something to return the favor to Caltech. Thank you very much.